What's going on, world? It's Michael Gascon, the horse guru, and I have a very hot topic. When do I switch from my Gascon horsemanship halter to bits? I'm going to tell you the exact order to go that I love to see, and kind of the recipe that's been a recipe for success for us for a very long time, and hopefully it'll help you too. So first and foremost, I ride everything that I ride with a halter first. I mean, it doesn't matter if it ate a kid last week, if it's a bronc, if it just came from the NFR, if it's a wonderful horse, if it's a fully trained horse. I want to see what they'll do with the most basic of pressures, and having that conversation on the outside of their face versus inside their mouth, which is significantly more sensitive. This really lets me know where the horse is at. Is the horse really respectful? Does the horse give to pressure? This is the configuration that I'm going to use. I'm going to be pulling from this knot here. The center knot is usually where I'm going to start. Whenever I pull on this, it actually pushes on the other side. So when I pull right and you think you're pulling right, really what you're doing is pushing the left side of the horse's face to come your direction. If a horse is being very stiff and having a hard time with that, then all these knots here, they're actually not here for pressure. A lot of these knots here are for you to be able to clip your reins. So I'll go from here, from where basically a snaffle would be, about the corner of their mouth, I'll go up one knot, and then instead of pushing on the left side of their face, it will twist the halter, and you'll get some torque in there and make it a lot easier for, again, a stiff horse, a horse that's, you know, trying to buck, trying to take you, make them real soft. To get to the answer that you guys are looking for, and the reason you tagged this video, is once the horse gives me what I'm looking for, gives me a steering wheel, gives me brakes, once I can control the head, control the horse, once I can control his back end, once I can get some shoulder movement, walk, trot, canter, or gait if it's a gaited horse, basically get it where I want it to go from point A to point B, regardless of what's in the middle, whether it's mud or obstacles or something scary. I do that in the halter first, because any conversation that I'm going to have about, hey, bring me your face in, go towards the scary thing, I find it to be kinder to have it on their face than in their mouth. Any trainer that is going to work this, they're going to work the conversation with pressure and relief whenever the horse wants to get away. The difference is we're using it on their face, where most people standard is to work in their mouth. Once we have this done and the horse understands and is educated to give to pressure, we are going to go to a snaffle. And I like a full cheek snaffle. And when you hear somebody talk about a full cheek snaffle, they're referring to the D's on the side. These sticks right here, that's a full cheek snaffle. If it had a D on the side here, that would be a D-ring snaffle. Either that has a lot of pressure over here. When I mean pressure, a lot of surface area on the horse's face. So this is pretty soft and easy, soft mouthpiece, a lot of surface area to put that pressure on versus something small that's putting the pressure in a very select place on the horse's mouth. This really gives me the exact same thing that the halter does, and starts getting the horse used to having something in its mouth. So the order of go is the halter until the horse knows how to give the pressure and will take me at whatever speed I want and when it's scared. Once I get through the snaffle, I'm going to go to a snaffle with shanks. And what I'm doing is I am preparing the horse, almost identical mouthpieces. The only difference is this has a shank. Now, this is just left and right. This is just stopping. The halter and the snaffle are direct contact. That means wherever you put your hand, that's where the horse's face is going to go. If you pick your hands up, the horse picks his head up. You put your hands down, horse puts his head down. Now, this is what we call a curb bit, and just means it has a curb chain on it, and it's a snaffle. And what that's going to do is now, whenever I pick my hands up, it's going to be pulling that horse's head downward. So it's really important to understand that before you start just putting any bit on your horse, because now when you think that you're picking your hands up, trying to pick the horse's head up so he doesn't buck, you're actually asking him to put his head down. And by the time that I get into this, if I get into this with the horse, I'm looking for something more advanced. I'm looking for more shoulder movement. We're working on spins. We're working on lead changes. We're working on gating. Things like that is why I would go to a more advanced bit. Anything that's broken, anything that's not solid, I'm looking to soften the horse and get them off of the bridle. And then for my final bit, I'm going to look to get them on something solid and small like this. What I mean solid is, notice how this bit, it breaks in half and it has movement. That really changes the configuration as you're going around, and it doesn't give the horse something to grab a hold of. A lot of times when you're riding a green horse, you don't want them to grab a hold of your bit because they're scary, they're spooky, they're running off into the bridle, and you don't want them to grab your hands. You want them to stay soft, stay easy. Once you have the horse to a place where you know that they're not going to buck with you, you know they're not going to run with you, they're calm, they're confident, they've been educated, you've been in control long enough where they don't think that they can take control, then I like to have a solid bit. And this is what I really like to finish up in. When I say solid, that means it doesn't break in the middle. Notice it has a little tongue relief. And what that allows is to be as consistent as possible. So every national championship I ever won, every world championship I ever won, all of it was on a solid bit, because the more consistent my bit is, the more consistent the horse is going to be. The thing about this bit, if the horse is green or problematic or a bucker or a runner, it's very easy for them to grab a hold of this and take you for a ride. So that's why we go through the Respect series. That's why we start with the halter, then educate them to a snaffle with shanks, and finally we get on a nice, comfortable, solid bit where we start building our horse's confidence back up. We really start getting them where they're very comfortable, very consistent, and we ask them for the most that they can give. So if you have a reiner, you're asking for the most speed that you can get, the softest touch you can get. This is really gonna help get that out of the horse, where the other things are built to make the horse look for your leadership and not be confident to just grab your bit and run with you if they get scared. And that's the order of go. If you can do that in that order, it's a real slick way for success. Pressure in any of these things is not the issue. It's the lack of education. When people just jump to a shank bit because the horse doesn't stop, you're cruising for a bruising. If the horse isn't educated to give to pressure, and you put more pressure in a way that they don't understand, the odds of them flipping over when you see these horrible accidents on Facebook that make you second guess being a horse person, most of the time it's an uneducated horse that doesn't know how to come off of the pressure. And because of that, we add more pressure. It's as if we speak a different language and I start yelling at you louder and louder and approaching you. Odds are you're gonna do something. And that's just what horses do when they're not educated to give the pressure. So if you start in a halter, get them given the pressure, then go to a snaffle, then a broken curve bit, and then last but not least, all of my show horses, something comfortable, something solid without any movement, so that they can get as consistent as possible. Those are my recipe, my ingredients, and the recipe for success that I've lived by my whole life. If you like what you see, give it a go, and I promise you'll have a good time with your horse. Thanks so much for watching.